Hi guys, welcome to another episode of our MrLopezClasses.com. Today we are going to continue with the chapter 3 of our book of composite materials. And this is a great chapter. Today we are going to talk about the molds and blocks. Yes, in the construction of boats, the secret in the construction of boats are the designers. The designers of the structural of the boat, and the designers of the propulsion systems, and the designers of the electrical systems, and the designers of hydraulic systems. The designers are engineers, naval architects, mechanical engineers, electronic engineers, dedicated, specialized in designs of boats. Especially in the hulls, the quality of the hull, the performance of the hull, the style of the hull is the most critical part in the design of the boat. Because this is the part that you see, oh, that boat is wonderful. The hull, the style of the hull is modern, is great. The performance of that hull in the water is perfect. With that hull, you need less horsepower on the engines. With that hull, you need a propeller with less diameter, because the hull cutted the water perfect. Because that boat have the center of gravity in the middle. It's because the design of the hull. It's because the quality of the hull. And this is part of the engineers, the designers. Design the hull is the critical part of the boat. And when you have the design in papers like this is the first step. Design the boat in the computer and approve that design. This is the design that we need, because with this design, according with our calculations, we are going to reach that speed, and we can use this type of engines, and the performance of the engine is this and this and this, according with this design. When the design is approved, start the process. The process starts with the creation of the frame for the block. We are going to create the block, the first element in order to get the mold. But to create the mold, we need the block. And this is the first step, the structure, the frame, the skeleton of the block. After that, we are going to fill that skeleton, that frame, with different materials, with foam, with resins, and we are going to polish that frame with the special materials. This is the process. After that, when you finish, you cover it with the special resins, high quality resins, and you polish like this. This is the process. When the block is properly finished with the angles, this is the most important part. The block, you need the perfect angles in order to remove the mold easily. If the angles are straight, remove the mold after that is not possible. The secret in the design of the block is the angles, the inclinations, in order to release the mold easily. This is part of the creation. This is part of the design. Yes, this is the most important part, are the angles like this, because after that, when you finish, when you cover it with fiberglass and gel coat, it's easy to remove the mold. The block will be used at one time, because with the block I create the mold in high quality resins and fiberglass or carbon fiber. And after that, the block is destroyed, because right now you have the mold, and with the mold you can create hundreds of parts with that mold. The block is for one time, because the block is too big. Can you imagine where can you storage that block? You need a building to storage that block. and probably you use 20 years later. It's not a business. You create the plug, with the plug you create the mold, and now with the mold you storage the mold for years and years, because probably you use that mold every year. You produce 20 boats, and the next year other 20 boats. That's the secret. The company dedicated to create boats, they use the molds for 10 years, 15 years, and after that, the majority of them, they destroy the molds to avoid that the people copy those holes in the future. Normally, the people reproduce the holes using one of the boats like the plug, and they create the mold, but it's not the same. I'm going to explain later why not. Okay, this is the plug, and don't forget the angles, and don't forget the flange. The flange are in the bottom of the plug in order to remove easily the mold. Yes, the finished surface of the plug is polished. It's polished with a wax, and after that you apply the gel coat and the fiberglass and the core, and you create the mold, and after that you remove the mold. There are molds in 2 sections, in 3 sections, depend of the complexity of the part, the complexity of the hull. When you create boats, you need a plug for the hull. Probably you need another plug for the deck. You need another plug for the console. Yeah, those are the elements that are commonly plugs for the hatch. And after that, with those plugs, you create the molds, and those molds can be stored for years and years, and you reproduce and reproduce the amount of parts that you want. In other words, the molds are the most expensive parts in the production of boats. There are molds that the cost of each mold is 10, 20 million of dollars, depending on the quality of the molds. But with those molds, they reproduce hundreds of boats, and they recover the money easily. Okay, my friend, this is a great. In this example, we have the plug for a console. Look at the angles, the inclination, in order to remove easily the mold later. This is the plug for a typical console for a center console boat. And look at the finishing. Look at the rounded corners. Yeah, in order to remove easily the mold later when you create the mold. Yes, when you create the mold, the first step, you remember, is the structure in wood, like this. They create the structure in wood, a special wood, and after that they fill that structure in wood with different type of foams. Right now we are going to analyze the materials used to create the plug. Yeah, normally it's foam, it's resins, it's a bundle, and after that you polish the plug, and with the plug you can create the mold. Yeah, with the mold you can reproduce the parts in different ways. The composite mold can be used for vacuum bagging, for vacuum infusion, or the typical laminating with a roller or brush. Okay, now we are going to analyze the materials commonly used to create the plugs. That's a foam. That's the first one. It's basically urethane. It's easily to shape, and is coming in different densities. Pure foam or spray foam is also commonly used in the fabrication of plugs, and is found in a 2 pounds, 8 pounds density. The density is how the molecules are aggravated. Tooling clay is used for years and years and years to create molds. It's non-hardening plasticine clay is used to form fillets to form edge. Clay is used for years and years, or to fill holes and gaps. This is those are the most common material. The bondo used in a automotive application is commonly used to finish the plug, and other epoxy resin, different type of epoxy resins, and different type of fiberglass, the fabric, in 4 ounces, 6 ounces, and the chopped strand mat. Yeah, this is basically a filler like the silica balloons, the fumes. You remember, with the mixed with the polyester resin is also used. Those are great materials used. And at the end, in the surface, polyester resin is very commonly used. It's a great way to get the step-by-step and quick process. And the other one is a Duratec surfacing primer. It's a high build primer that is great to apply in different layers. Those are the most common materials used to create the plugs. Yeah. This is, for example, the plug of an aileron in a race car. You remember the ailerons on the race cars? This is the plug, and with that plug is created the mold. And with the mold, you reproduce the amount of ailerons like this that you wanted. This one is the plug for the head of the big truck. Yeah. Look at the angles, the inclination, the rounded areas. This is a great plug. It's easy to remove the mold. This is the head of a big truck, international truck. And once again, this is another plug for other center console. Yeah, this is the console with the seat integrated together. This is a great example. That plug is a perfect plug. The angle, the inclination, the flanges, those are the flanges. With those flanges, after that, you introduce pieces of plastic and you remove easily the mold. Yeah, this is the most important part when you start the serious production of elements in fiberglass or carbon fiber, the creation of the plug. After that, with the plug, it's easy create the mold, and after that, with the mold, you create the parts that you wanted. Yeah, those are other examples of a center console, plugs of a center console. Once again, the secret is the inclination, the angles. Those angles, those inclinations should be calculated. For that reason, you need special engineers, special designers dedicated to design molds, to create molds, to create plugs. They are specialized. This is a master degree in design. Yeah, there are careers dedicated to design race cars, to design race boats, to design airplanes. Engineers with a high quality, ultra high capacitation in those type of designs. All right, and now this is when you have the plug, you start to create the mold. Yeah, and now we are going to talk about the molds and the materials used in the creation of molds. But normally the high quality molds are created in epoxy resin or in carbon fiber, the high quality molds. Normally I recommend create the molds in epoxy resin or carbon fiber, of course with epoxy resin, because with polyester resin you can create the mold, but that mold with the years is bended, is cracked, is fractured, because the polyester resin is too rigid in comparison with the epoxy resin. Yeah, I recommend, if you want high quality molds for long period of time, create those molds in polyester resin, high quality resin. Yeah, fiberglass is not durable, and the mold eventually is twisted and is cracked. For that reason, I recommend epoxy resin, carbon fiber with epoxy resin. This is the material recommended for those type of molds. Okay, yes, remember that the most important part is the angles, the inclinations, and the flange. After that is easy remove the mold. The plug, once again, is used one time to create the mold. Once you have the mold, you can destroy the plug, and you storage, you polish, you keep in great conditions the mold for years and years. The secret to keep the mold in great conditions is try to keep the mold in a dry area. Try to avoid excessive high temperatures in the building in order to avoid that the resin and the fabric be twisted. Okay, my friends, when you have the mold, yeah, you are ready to create the part that you wanted. In this particular case, the hull. The first step is polish the mold, polish with a good wax, a lot of wax, properly polished, in order to avoid that the first layer of gel coat, bond the structure of the mold. If you wax the mold properly, you don't have any problem in the moment that you want to release the mold. To ensure that the laminated doesn't bond to the mold, polish with release wax. It's a special wax used to release mold. It's not the wax used to polish your car during the weekend. It's a little different with different specifications. Try to use release wax. Use it for polyester resins or epoxy resin. There are different types of wax. This wax makes the surface of the mold slippery. In that case, the gel coat or the laminated resin not stick on it. All right, that's the secret to wax the mold properly. All right, and there are molds that are half and half because the structure is complex. You have a half and half like this, and you put together, and after that internally you laminate the hole that you want. This is the secret. Yeah, this is the plug. The plug is the black one, and in this moment they start to create the mold with that plug. Yeah, that's the process. The plug is used to create the mold. Then the mold can be used several times, and the plug can be destroyed. Or if you want it, you have the space to storage the plug, because you want in the future create additional molds. But normally you don't need create additional molds. You create the mold that you wanted, one or two molds, and after that you destroy the plug. Yeah, create the plug is expensive. It's in my opinion the most expensive part. Right now with the plug, start the process to create the mold. In this particular case, it's a lot of people working. The first layer, the first 2 or 3 layers are pure gel coat. Remember that the thickness of the gel coat is important, because after that you want to polish, you want to sand it, you need a good thickness of gel coat. The gel coat is the first layer. When the plug is properly washed, properly polished, you apply gel coat, spray gel coat 1 time, second layer, 3 layers, and after that you start with the process of lamination, laminating the mat, the fiberglass with resin. Normally it's a polyester resin. With roller and brush you start the process of lamination. Yeah, and in some cases you added 2 layers of fiberglass. After that the foam, the balsa foam, the plywood, and cover it with other 2 layers of fiberglass, and finally you have the structure that you want. That's the process of lamination. Yeah, and after that you have the mold and the plug. You remove the mold and you can destroy the plug. Yeah, this is the typical process. In this moment is creating the mold, using to create ailerons, to create different parts, laminating the fiberglass with the mold. In the creation of the mold, normally you can use structural foam, you can use balsa, you can use plywood, and you laminate that core material. You laminate in both sides with the fiberglass and resin. It's like a sandwich. The name of that technique is the sandwich construction. The sandwich construction is a process in which the core material is in between two skins of a carbon fiber or fiberglass. That's simple. All right, and also you use the same process to create the ball heads. The ball heads normally are in a plywood covered with fiberglass in both sides. Remember that the ball heads and the stringers are like the chassis, the skeleton of the boat. Yeah, that's the production of molds, the production of blocks, and after that, with the mold ready, we are going to create the hull. We are going to do the process of construction of the hull. This is the next coming episode.